Hello, welcome back to the Property Pilot. Today we're talking about how to start your very own property portfolio. And over this very brief video, we'll tell you all about how to actually start a property portfolio. So first of all, it comes to strategy. So what exactly is your strategy when you want to start this property portfolio? Are you investing in property for income? And the aim behind building your portfolio is to generate an income for yourself that you can get paid on a monthly basis. Or on the other side is the idea behind this property portfolio that you want to embark upon and that you want to build. Is it about building a legacy maybe for your family or to pass down to your children? And you're not that bothered about the monthly rent, but what you are really concerned about is the value of this property increasing over the 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. And you're really banking on that capital appreciation and you value that more than the rental income. So you've got two different strategies, income investing over here or investing for capital growth, and both really good strategies and a great way to build a property portfolio. So only you can answer that question which one of those strategies that you want to choose, right? Okay, so coming on number 2, what are your strengths? So before we even get into how we're going to build this property portfolio, what are your strengths? What can you actually bring to the table? How are you able to actually, build this portfolio in the first instance? And what I mean by this is, first of all, do you have any property skill or experience? It's okay if you don't, but you need to answer that question and be realistic with yourself. You could have no experience whatsoever, or you could have been working in the property sector for maybe 10 years. You haven't yet invested in property, but you've got that skill and that know-how, right? Okay, let's come on to time. Do you actually have time to invest in building this property portfolio yourself, or in fact, are you working 9 till 5 and you can only really spare around 2, 3, 4 hours a week, building your property portfolio? You need to be very realistic with yourself. How much time do you have? And lastly, funds. How much cash do you have on hand to start this property portfolio journey? Do you have a little bit in your account, maybe from savings or from your job, or actually do you have a large chunk? Have you been saving over a while, over the 10, 20, 30 years, or maybe you have some inheritance or something of that nature? So again, you've got to answer that question. How much cash do you have ready right here today to deploy to actually start your property journey? So those 3 things are really important. So I'll just recap them very briefly before we move on, because it's really important to accurately identify where your strengths and where your weaknesses lie. And I'll come on to this very, very shortly. So, do you have property expertise, skill set and experience? Do you have the time required to build a property portfolio? And thirdly, how much cash do you have to actually start this portfolio, right? Now, I'm going to give you various scenarios where we can actually find the solution together. So first of all, if you don't have the experience, maybe you don't have the skill set to actually embark upon something like this, well, obviously you need to get trained up, maybe consider getting a mentor and get educated around this area. Now, I mentor people who will look to get into property, or maybe they even got 1 or 2 properties and they just need help scaling it to the next level. So it's a perfect opportunity to partner with someone like myself, and I'll help you on your property portfolio journey. Okay, so number 2, time. How much time do you have? If you're working 9 till 5, and some people work beyond 9 till 5, you have very little time to actually build a portfolio. It still can be done. It's just not going to be done in so much of a timely manner, put it that way, right? So be realistic with yourself. If you don't have the time, consider using a property sourcer, consider using managing agents to actually help you scale this journey and fast track this journey. But if you've got the time, then that's great. You can do this all yourself, and you don't really need to be going to those third parties to outsource those types of services, right? And lastly, cash. How much cash do you have? Well, if you've got cash in the bank and you've got enough to build that portfolio, that what you actually want that to look like, then great. Of course, you don't need to really raise any more cash. You probably will be buying with a mortgage anyway, so you can stretch that cash and deploy that cash as effectively as possible. But if you don't have cash, there are several options. So first of all, you can embark upon property strategies that don't actually require that much cash, which, you can look at my other videos and you can see lots of strategies that I talk about that don't require that much cash. Or consider going into business with someone else. Joint venture with someone. Maybe they've got the cash, you've got the time and the skill set and the experience, and you can bring all that together. And by bringing both those amazing things together, you'll be able to achieve synergy and help each other out. So there are lots of ways of getting around this, and it's important that you correctly identify your weaknesses in order to solve this issue and make sure your property portfolio journey is as positive and successful as possibly can be. I hope that makes sense. Another option is, let's say you've got the cash, you don't have the time, you don't have the skill set, and actually you don't really have the desire to build the portfolio yourself. You want to build it, but you want someone else to do it for you. In that case, give me a message. I'm more than happy to help. I'm really passionate about building property portfolios for people. I like actually acquiring portfolios for myself and part portfolios, and this is a very niche area that I specialize in. So if that's what you're looking for, head to www.mf7.uk and get in touch with myself. Okay, so we've spoken about strengths and potential weaknesses, which encompasses quite a large portion of this video. But now let's come on to the finances. I know we've already touched upon this briefly, but it's important that we understand how we're funding this property portfolio journey. So there's various options. I mean, the most common option is you're getting a mortgage. You're getting a 75% mortgage. So you're putting in 25% for the deposit. So the question you've got to ask yourself, first of all, are you mortgageable, or is your company mortgageable? That's a really important question. So speak to a mortgage broker. If you want to be put in touch with the brokers that I use, I know, I like, I trust, go to my website, I'll put you in touch. So really important question, find out if you are mortgageable. Another option is to buy it all out in cash outright. Not really the most efficient way to utilize and deploy your cash, but again, it's possible. And some people do this, some people don't like leveraging, okay? So again, if you've got the cash in the bank and you need quite a sizable amount of cash in the bank to start a meaningful property portfolio, again, this is an option for you. And if you are purchasing cash, of course, you're going to get a great deal because you can pay in cash. You know, you're not banking on finance that may or may not happen, so you can make that work to your advantage. But even still, even by buying in cash and getting a great deal, typically speaking, if you leverage and you finance the deal with a standard mortgage, you're going to get a higher return on investment. So just bear that in mind. So we've already briefly spoken about what to do if you don't have the cash. We can joint venture with someone else that actually has the cash, or we can borrow from people or investors based on a fixed return. So again, that's a way how you can structure your property portfolio if you don't have the cash, by joint venturing with someone who has the cash and splitting the profits somehow, however percentage you decide, or by borrowing money from an investor at a fixed rate of return. So you're taking all that risk, you can give them a charge on the property. And maybe I'll do a video at a later date about how to actually do this. It's actually very easy to do, and once you understand the process, it's extremely scalable. So we've just talked about finance. Now it's really important we talk about the structure. Are we going to be buying these properties in our personal name or in a limited company? And I've done a video all about that. I'll link to it in the description. Here's the thumbnail that's going to pop up. It's something along the lines of, should you buy property in your personal name or a limited company? Really important thing to actually think about before you even putting in any offers whatsoever. Generally speaking, if you're a higher rate taxpayer and you've got several properties and you actually want to buy more properties, it's best being put in a limited company. But if you're a lower rate taxpayer and you're not actually looking to build a huge portfolio, some of the cases it's better being in your personal name. Speak to an accountant. I'm not an accountant. Speak to an accountant and a tax specialist. They will be able to answer this question for you and advise. Again, head to my website. I can put you in touch with my accountant. Okay, so the question we need to answer now is, what types of properties are we purchasing and in what areas? And to answer this question, we need to go back to the very first part of this video, which is strategy. Which strategy are we undertaking? Are we undertaking an income investing strategy? If so, we want to be buying high yield properties. Really important. And where are these high yield properties? Generally speaking, the north of the UK yields are slightly higher than in the Midlands and in the south. Okay, so look at the north of the UK, and these types of properties will probably be 1 or 2 bed, back-to-back terrace properties, your standard introductory buy-to-let property. Maybe it's on the larger scale, a block of flats, buying a whole block of flats, or maybe somewhere in the middle you're buying a HMO, a house multiple occupancy. These yields typically yield higher than a standard family home. Okay, now again, let's look on the other side of this strategy. If we're investing for capital growth and we're investing for the long term and we're banking on the capital appreciation increasing on a long-term basis, well, we need to be looking in slightly different areas. First of all, we need to be looking in areas with strong fundamentals, and what I mean by that is several things. A, really low crime. B, great schools, great transport, high number of owner-occupiers living in those areas, and a couple of other things. So, we need to ensure that it's a nice area, essentially. Now, again, this can be all over the UK, north, south, Midlands, whatever. You'll find these areas and all over. But what's really important here is the type of property. So these tend to be, a 3-bed semi, maybe it's a detached bungalow, something of that nature. It could even be a city centre flat, a 1 or 2 bed city centre flat. So you can tell that these types of properties are different to the ones we've just spoken about. These types of properties tend to be slightly nicer properties, and what I mean by that is they require less maintenance. They're slightly nicer properties that you want to live in. But all these properties, both these scales have a purpose. They're aimed at different tenant demographics, different price points. So it's really important that you identify which strategy you're undergoing, income investing or capital growth, and that will answer the question on what areas, what types of properties to buy. Okay, so we've understood what type of property we want to buy, we've understood what areas we want to buy in. Well, now we need to actually buy this property. So we need to go on Rightmove, we need to go on Zoopla, we need to find those properties, we need to book in viewings with the agents, we need to put forward those offers. Once we've had an offer accepted, again, the legal process is undertaken, and we work all the way through to completion to where we pick up the keys. Now, this video isn't about that side of the process. I've got loads of videos talking about how to view property, how to offer on property, the legal process, things like that. So have a look at my YouTube channel. So we're going to skip over this briefly and then kind of come on to the end and how we're going to scale our property portfolio. Okay, so the property is completed, we've managed to rent it out, and either we're managing it ourselves or an agent is managing it on our behalf, right? So again, it comes back back to one of the first questions we addressed in this video. Do you have the time to manage this property yourself, or do you not? Are you going to have to give it to an agent? So if you've got the time to manage it yourself, your profitability will increase because you're not paying the agent a fee to manage your properties. But if you don't have the time, you're going to have to be paying that fee to the agent, and it's obviously going to decrease your return on investment. So you've got to make sure the numbers work if you're going to be using a managing agent to manage your properties. That being said, I know a lot of really smart people, they do not manage their own properties themselves, and the reason they do this is if you work out their hourly rate, even though they're paying a fee to an agent to manage the property, if you work out their hourly rate they're spending in their property portfolio, buying, selling and things like that, addressing issues, it's actually incredible because they're not spending that much time in their property portfolio. Their agents are doing all the hard work, they're doing all the hard graft, and as a result their hourly rate is absolutely phenomenal. So don't be afraid to give it to an agent, just make sure the numbers stack, and obviously that's going to work out for you. Okay, so we've got the properties being managed either by us or by an agent. Now we need to think about buying our next property, our second, our third, our fourth, our fifth, our 10th, etc. Define what your property portfolio actually means to you. How many properties do you want to get to? Or is it a certain value of property you want to get? Or in fact, is it a certain value of rental income you want to be generating on a monthly or annual basis? It's really important you just define what those figures are for you so you can actually carry out on your strategy. So in my very next video, we're going to be talking about how you can scale this property portfolio journey from 0 to 10 properties in a very short space of time. So stay tuned for the next video. We'll be talking about how can we accelerate this journey. Today's video, we've very much been talking about the introductory things. We've been talking about strategy and how to actually acquire that first property. So I hope that makes a bit of sense. So stay tuned for the next video. Do you need help starting a property portfolio? If you do, head to my website www.ms7.uk and reach out to me. I'm really passionate about helping people start in property and growing a property portfolio, and it's really rewarding when I see my clients and people that I mentor being able to step back from their work. They've got a nice property portfolio. It's also providing a very good retirement, in brackets, income, and allows them to do whatever they want to do and spend their days how they want to spend those days. So if you're looking to get into property, I'd love to hear from you. So I really hope you've got value from today's video. I appreciate it if you'd like the video. It can help other people actually see this video and maybe hopefully learn something from it. And stay tuned for the next one. We talk about growth and we talk about how to fast track your property portfolio journey. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye.